I want to tell you about a man who did not know he was waiting. Not waiting in the conscious sense. Not standing at a window watching for someone. Not counting days or marking calendars or doing any of the specific, deliberate things that waiting sometimes looks like from the outside. He was living his life. His ordinary, specific, genuinely good life. And somewhere inside the living of it, somewhere in the specific, unremarkable Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sunday afternoons of a 24-year-old man building something in Charlotte, North Carolina, he was waiting for something he had not named yet. He did not know he was waiting for Maya Carter. He did not know Maya Carter existed. He was just waiting. In the way that certain people wait. Not impatiently. Not with the anxious, restless quality of someone who has decided life has not given them what they are owed. With the specific, patient quality of someone who has decided that the right things come in their own time and that the appropriate response to that is to build something worth coming to. His name is Nathan Webb. He is 24 years old. And this is his part of the story. Nathan grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. His father is a civil engineer. His mother is a physical therapist. He has one younger sister named Lily who is 21 and who is studying art history at Chapel Hill with the specific, cheerful determination of someone who has decided to love what she loves and who is not interested in arguments about practicality. He grew up in a house that was warm in the specific way of houses where two people have built something real together and have not felt the need to perform its realness for anyone. His parents have been married for 29 years. Not because they are perfect people. Because they are people who have decided, continuously and daily, to be married. The specific, practiced, unremarkable choosing of each other that makes long marriages long. Nathan absorbed this. Not consciously. The way you absorb the things that are simply the atmosphere of your childhood. He grew up inside two people choosing each other and it became, without his knowing it, his understanding of what love actually looked like when it was real. He graduated from UNC Charlotte at 22 with a degree in computer science. He got a job at a mid-sized software company in Charlotte writing code for logistics management systems, not glamorous, not the kind of work that makes for interesting dinner party conversation, but the specific, technically demanding, genuinely useful work of someone who is good at what he does and who finds satisfaction in the goodness rather than the recognition. He had an apartment. He had 3 close friends he had known since college. He had a weekend routine that involved the farmers market on Saturday mornings and a specific coffee shop on Sunday afternoons where he did his personal coding projects at a table by the window. He had a life. A genuinely good life. And in it he was waiting. Without knowing it. I want to tell you how Nathan and Maya met. Not because the meeting is dramatic. It was not dramatic. It was a Thursday evening in November. 2 months after Maya enlisted. She had not yet reported for basic training, her report date was in January. She was still in Fayetteville, still waitressing, still living with Claire. Her roommate Claire had a boyfriend named Marcus. Marcus had a friend named Nathan. Marcus and Claire were having people over on a Thursday evening. Not a party, a specific, small gathering of the kind that happens when people who like each other decide to be in the same place without a significant occasion requiring it. Maya almost did not go. She had a shift that ended at 9 and she was tired in the specific way of someone who is working and waiting simultaneously, working the job that is ending in January and waiting for the thing that is beginning in January and carrying the weight of both. She almost went home. Claire texted her at 8:47. The text said, "Come. Marcus's friend Nathan is here. He makes terrible jokes and I think you will like him for reasons I cannot explain." Maya read the text. She read it twice. Then she went. She arrived at 9:15. The apartment was warm and smelled like the specific combination of candles and whatever Marcus had made for dinner and the comfortable noise of 6 people who are at ease with each other. Maya came in. She put her bag down. She looked around the room. Nathan was in the corner by the bookshelf. Not because he was shy. He was not shy. But because he had a specific quality of entering spaces, he found a position and he inhabited it fully rather than moving through the room performing sociability. He was talking to Marcus about something. He was also, in the specific way of people who process their environments while appearing to be focused on one thing, aware that someone new had come in. He turned. He looked at Maya. Maya looked at him. Neither of them said anything for approximately 3 seconds. Then Marcus said, "Maya, this is Nathan." Nathan said, "Hi." Maya said, "Hi." And then, nothing dramatic. They did not fall into conversation immediately. They were not magnetized across the room. Maya went to the kitchen and got something to drink and Nathan stayed by the bookshelf for a few more minutes and then the room rearranged itself the way rooms do at small gatherings and they ended up near each other on the couch. Not because anyone arranged it. Because rooms have a specific, organic gravity and sometimes the gravity works the way it should. They talked for 2 hours. Not continuously. The conversation was the specific, natural kind that happens at small gatherings, interrupted by other conversations, paused, resumed, deepened gradually without anyone deciding to deepen it. Maya told him about the enlistment. Not immediately. After 40 minutes. After they had talked about other things, her history class, his code, the specific complaints of 2 young people who are doing something that is not yet quite the thing they are supposed to be doing. She said, "I enlisted in the army 2 months ago." He stopped. Not dramatically. He just paused in a way that told her he was processing rather than performing a response. Then he said, "When do you leave?" Not, "Why did you do that?" Not, "Is that safe?" Not the specific, reflexive questions of someone reacting to what they have heard rather than engaging with it. "When do you leave?" She said, "January. Fort Leonard Wood." He said, "Missouri." She looked at him. He said, "I looked up the training locations once. I do not know why. I just did." She said, "You looked up Army training locations." He said, "I was curious about something I read. I research things when I am curious." She said, "What were you curious about?" He said, "What the training actually looked like. What they were actually doing. It seemed important and I did not understand it and I do not like not understanding things." She looked at him. She said, "Most people just say, 'Oh, the army,' and then they ask if I am sure." He said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Then I do not need to ask." She looked at him. "Most people ask anyway," she said. "I know," he said. "I am not most people." She left at 11:30. She had an early shift the next morning. She put on her jacket. She said goodbye to Claire and Marcus and the others. She got to the door. Nathan was at the door. Not because he had planned to be. Because the room had ended in the specific, organic way of small gatherings and he happened to be near the door. He said, "It was good to meet you." She said, "You too." He said, "January is 2 months away." She said, "Yes." He said, "That is not very long." She looked at him. She said, "No." He said, "I am not suggesting anything. I am just noting." She said, "Noted." She went home. She lay in bed that night and she thought about the specific quality of someone who researches things he does not understand and who asks, "When do you leave?" instead of "Are you sure?" She thought about it for a long time before she went to sleep. He called Claire the next morning. Not Maya, he did not have Maya's number. Claire. He said, "The friend who was there last night." Claire said, "Maya." He said, "She leaves in January." Claire said, "I know." He said, "Can I have her number?" Claire said, "Why?" He said, "Because I want to know her before she leaves." Claire was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That is either the most romantic or the most practical thing I have ever heard." He said, "Can it be both?" Claire said, "I will ask her." She asked Maya. Maya said yes. 2 months. November and December. I want to tell you what 2 months looks like when both people understand that the 2 months are all that is immediately available. It changes the quality of the time. Not because they rushed anything. Not because the urgency of the leaving produced the specific, heightened, artificial intensity of a countdown romance. Because they were deliberate. In the specific, particular way of two people who understand that what they have is finite in its current form and who have decided that finite is not a reason to invest less but a reason to invest more carefully. Nathan came to Fayetteville twice. Once in November, once in December. Both times they did the specific, ordinary things that people who are getting to know each other do. They walked. They ate. They talked. Nathan asked questions the way he always asked questions, with the genuine curiosity of someone who wants to understand rather than someone who is performing interest. He asked about her mother. She told him about Patricia. He asked the specific, follow-up questions that told her he had listened to the first answers. She asked about his family. He told her about his parents, the 29 years, the daily choosing, the specific warmth of a house built on something real. She asked what 29 years of choosing looked like from the inside of growing up inside it. He thought about it. He said, "It looked unremarkable." Which I think is the point. The remarkable things, the grand gestures, the dramatic moments, those are the surface of something. What my parents have is the underneath. The specific, daily, completely unremarkable choosing. That is the real thing. She looked at him. She said, "How do you know the difference between the surface and the underneath?" He said, "The surface looks impressive from the outside. The underneath feels right from the inside." She said, "This, talking to you, feels right from the inside." He looked at her. He said, "Yes. It does." Christmas. She went home to Raleigh for Christmas. He went home to Charlotte. They texted every day. Not long texts. Specific ones. He would send her something he had read that he thought she would find interesting. She would send him something she had noticed, a specific detail of the world around her that she wanted to share. The specific, daily exchange of two people who have decided that the distance between Raleigh and Charlotte during the holidays is not a reason to be less present with each other. On Christmas Eve he called. Not texted. Called. She answered. He said, "Merry Christmas." She said, "Merry Christmas." He said, "I want to tell you something." She said, "Tell me." He said, "I have been thinking about January." "What about it?" she said. He said, "I have been thinking about what it means that you are leaving in 3 weeks and that we have known each other for 6 weeks and that this, whatever this is going to continue in a form that is significantly different from what it has been." She said, "Significantly different how?" He said, "Letters. Scheduled calls. Limited contact. The specific communication constraints of basic training." She said, "You researched the communication constraints of basic training." He said, "I research things I want to understand." She said, "Nathan." He said, "What?" She said, "What are you trying to say?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I am trying to say that the constraints are not a reason to stop. They are just the shape of the next few months. And the shape is manageable." She said, "You have already decided this is worth the shape." He said, "Yes." She said, "When did you decide?" He said, "November." At the door. "When you said noted." She laughed. He said, "You have a very good noted." She said, "Thank you." "You are welcome," he said. A pause. Then she said, "Nathan." "What?" "This feels like the underneath." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes. It does." January. 3 weeks after Christmas. The report date. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Maya drove herself to the processing station. Not because she had no one to drive her, Nathan had offered. Her mother had offered. Claire had offered. She drove herself. Not because she was performing independence. Because driving herself felt right. Because the thing she was walking into was hers and the walking into it should be hers. But she called Nathan before she went in. She sat in the parking lot of the processing station. She called him. He answered on the first ring. She said, "I am here." He said, "I know." She said, "I am going in." He said, "I know." She said, "Nathan." "What?" She said, "Thank you for the 2 months." He said, "They were the best 2 months I have had." She said, "I will write." He said, "I will write back." She said, "The letters take longer than you think." He said, "I have time." She said, "Nathan." "What?" "You are exactly the underneath." He was quiet. Then he said, "Go become someone, Maya." She said, "I will come back someone." He said, "I know." She hung up. She got out of the car. She walked through the door. He wrote the first letter that evening. Before she had written to him. Before she had his address. Before any of the communication channels of basic training were established. He wrote it on paper, the specific, physical act of handwriting something that matters, and he sealed it and he addressed it to the processing station knowing it might not reach her for weeks. The letter was not long. It said, "Maya, I am writing this before you have given me an address to write to. I am sending it to where I think the letters go and hoping the Army's mail system is more reliable than most systems. If you are reading this, it worked. If you are not reading this, I wrote it anyway and it still mattered. I want to tell you something I did not say in the parking lot call because it felt like too much for a call. I have been waiting for something for a long time. Not dramatically. Not with the impatience of someone who feels owed. Just waiting. In the way that you wait when you are building something worth coming to and you trust that what is meant to arrive will arrive. You arrived. In November. At Claire's apartment. At the door when you said noted. I was waiting for you and I did not know it until you showed up and then I knew immediately. I do not know what the next 6 months look like. I know that the shape of them is manageable. I know that letters take longer than expected and that the waiting for them is its own specific thing. I know that you are going to come back someone different from who you left as and that I am going to be interested in whoever that person is. I will be here. Writing. Waiting. Building something worth coming to. N. He sealed the letter. He mailed it. Then he went back to his apartment. He sat at his desk. He opened his coding project. He worked. He was waiting. This time he knew it. This is episode 2. The Man Who Was Waiting. Nathan Webb. 24 years old. Who researches things he does not understand and who asks when do you leave instead of are you sure, and who wrote a letter before he had an address to send it to. Who knew he was waiting as soon as she showed up. Episode 3 is coming. The first goodbye. Not the parking lot. The real one. The one that happened 6 weeks into basic training when Maya was allowed a single phone call and she called Nathan, and what she said in that call was something neither of them had prepared for. Stay with me. The story is just beginning. Drop the word noted in the comments if Nathan's story reached something real in you. Noted for the door. Noted for the underneath. Noted for every person who has waited for something without knowing they were waiting until it arrived. Subscribe. Episode 3 is tomorrow. Kayla's Dark Truth.